Hello, my name is Nina Avitabile, and I'm making a mini podcast series on behalf of the Eating Behaviour Research Group here at the University of Birmingham. This is the fifth episode of the series, and today I'm joined by research fellow Helen Ruddock. Helen completed her undergraduate studies at the University of Plymouth in psychology, followed by her master's in neuropsychology at the University of Bristol. She then went on to complete her PhD at the University of Liverpool, looking at self-perceived food addiction. She's now completing her postdoc position here at the University of Birmingham and looking at social influences of eating behaviour. So hi Helen, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and answer my questions today. So in the interview we're going to look at social influences of eating behaviour, but before we get stuck into that, I just wanted to ask you about why you think eating behaviour is important, why you think it's interesting, or how you got involved in it.
Yeah, so I find studying eating behaviour really interesting simply because it's so complex, and there's so many factors which influence how much we eat. So we've got biological influences, social influences, we've got our thoughts and cognitions, which all influence how much we eat and what we eat as well. So I find it really interesting trying to piece all these kind of different influences together and working out,
Because it's not just one thing, so many things come into like eating preferences or...
Exactly. And they vary extensively between individuals, So I find it really interesting the fact that one person can take or leave certain foods and the next person finds it really hard to resist.
Yeah, or even food. Sweet or savoury.
Exactly.
Like, different people, like the difference between genetics versus environment. We spoke about how this topic is also important in relation to weight management, and I asked Helen how scientific research could have a positive effect on tackling the obesity epidemic.
So it's really important that we understand the psychological processes which determine what and how much we eat, because I think that's a really important factor in obesity. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because even if you can get people to eat less and exercise more, maybe that's only a motivation for a set period of time. You have to change like the thinking behind it rather than just like the physical actions.
This is the thing, because most people know what they should be doing.
Yeah,
most people know what healthy food is and what unhealthy food is, but some people really struggle to implement the advice that they're given. So psychology, I think, is a huge part of it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you about was social norms. So if you could just explain what do social norms mean in relation to sort of eating behaviour, and then I think we're going to discuss a study that was done by Suzanne from our lab.
So research has found that we're kind of heavily influenced by what other people eat or what we believe other people are eating, and so there's different types of norms. So you can have descriptive social norms where we're kind of led to believe that people, for example, most people eat healthy. You've also got what we call injunctive social norms, which is about the approval of certain behaviours and how people support or endorse certain behaviours. So things like most people endorse healthy eating would be an example of an injunctive norm. And both of these have been found to influence how much or people's food choices. So, and in particular, descriptive norms are particularly strong in influencing food choice.
So this would be, the example could be 9 out of 10 people get their 5 fruit and veg a day.
Exactly.
And so that would be maybe more powerful in influencing others to consume fruit and veg rather than 9 out of 10 people believe they should.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if people are told that people are eating a certain way, then they're more likely to adopt those behaviours. And it's particularly the case if they believe that those people are similar to them. So if they kind of
identify with them.
So if it's presented as, this number of British people, for example, eat 4 or 5 fruit and veg a day, then they're more likely to behave in that way.
Yeah. That's really, so the study that we wanted to talk about that almost backs up what you've just said was one where a poster was put up in a restaurant, and the poster displayed a social norm message about vegetable purchase and vegetable consumption. And after, they found that people in the restaurant consumed more vegetables, they bought more vegetables. So that is support of the theory you just told us.
Yeah, and it has really important implications as well in terms of encouraging people to eat more healthily and eat more fruit and veg.
The second topic I wanted to ask Helen about was the social facilitation of eating. I asked her to explain what social facilitation means in this context and some of the associated research findings.
Social facilitation of eating refers to our tendency to eat more when we're eating with other people compared with when we're eating alone. And this behaviour is quite a robust behaviour. So researchers found that people will eat more when they're eating with other people at weekends, across weekdays, at different meal times. So we see it across a variety of occasions.
Yeah, we were sort of discussing before and how some of the results are saying that when you are in the presence of 7 or more people, people can have up to as much as 76% increase in their intake of food consumption. So that's where it came in. We were discussing that maybe some people would criticise that and say, well, if there's 7 or more people, is it because it's some kind of celebratory event, Christmas, a birthday, and therefore there would be maybe more food available, or party food available, or higher calorie food? But if it's kind of robust across all of these different conditions, then there's clearly something else.
There's some, and animals will show this behaviour as well. So it's been found in animals and humans. So there's something going on there. We don't really know why it happens. There's several kind of theories that have been put forward. One of which being when we're eating with other people, we're more distracted. So we might not notice that we're becoming more full. We might also forget about any diets that we might be following or anything like that. So that's a potential mechanism. Another way in which social facilitation could occur is because of effects on our mood. So when we're with other people, we're obviously hopefully going to be happier or more excited, and it's going to be more of an enjoyable experience. So that obviously mood could potentially affect how much we eat. There's not much research that's really looked at underlying mechanisms. So that's what we're kind of doing in our projects right now.
Although many explanations have been proposed concerning why people consume more food in a group setting, I asked Helen if she thought there were any evolutionary reasons that could explain this behaviour.
So if you think about it, sharing food would have conferred a lot of advantages for us back in, when we were cavemen.
In terms of social bonding?
Well, in terms of social bonding, and also just ensuring that we've always got food. So if we share food with other people, then we're likely to share with us.
So like an altruistic
thing. So there needs to be some kind of like underlying mechanism which makes us more likely to or want to share our food with other people and to kind of eat socially. And one of the ways in which this might be selected for is if we find food more palatable and more enjoyable when we're eating with other people, then we might be more likely to want to kind of eat with other people. So
see, that's fascinating. It's almost as if being around others could change the perception of like taste or flavour or how we're experiencing eating. And
exactly, and there's some evidence to suggest that is the case, that food is perceived to be more palatable when we're eating with other people. I think there's only 1, maybe 2 studies that have looked at that.
So this is although the idea of social facilitation isn't that new, we still don't understand it fully. Like still very
it's very much
controversial. I then asked Helen about her own research regarding the social facilitation of eating, research that she's currently conducting here at the University of Birmingham. I first asked her to explain the experiment that she's recently finished.
We were more interested in whether people will plan in advance to eat more with other people compared with when they eat alone. So is it something that happens prior to a meal? And we did actually find an effect. So people did they served themselves more food when they were going to be eating with their friend, and that's, they didn't actually know how much food their friend had served themselves. So without any knowledge of how much their friend was going to eat, they served themselves more. Just
purely on the knowledge that they knew that they would be eating with their friend.
Exactly, exactly. So that's just evidence that the social facilitation, or we call that the social pre-facilitation of eating.
Oh, okay.
So it just goes to show that it doesn't necessarily happen during the meal. It's an effect that is potentially pre-planned.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So you finished that, and were those the results that you expected, that you wanted?
Yeah, that's what we hypothesised, that people would plan to eat more. People would make more food available for themselves when they're eating socially.
Okay, perfect.
So now we're running another study where we're looking at cumulative intake over 3 days. So we're looking at whether social facilitation of eating is sustained over a longer duration, or is it just something that happens in one particular meal? So people are coming in for breakfast, lunch and dinner. They're coming in with one phase alone and another phase with a friend, and we're looking at whether the social facilitation effect occurs at every meal across the 3 days.
And is that your hypothesis? Is that what you're thinking will happen?
So it's based on, there's another study looking at the effect of portion sizes on intake over several days. I think it's like 11 days actually, and they showed that when you are given larger portion sizes, that you end up eating more than if you have smaller portions, and this is sustained over a number of days. So this is just another example of environmental influences and how that affects our eating. And so like that, we're expecting this effect to be sustained
over the 3 meals over the 3 days. Okay.
Exactly.
Helen and I spoke about her current study. We talked specifically about how all the participants that she was recruiting were female. Helen went on to explain why it was important that the participant pairings were of the same sex.
So there's some research to suggest that who we're eating with can moderate the effect of social facilitation effects on eating. So particularly women that are eating with male partners, especially men that are perhaps friends they don't know so well, that social facilitation effects can be attenuated in those people. And we see the biggest effects when women are eating with other women, or men are eating with other men. And the reason for this is because of another social influence on eating, which is impression management concerns. So when we're eating with other people, particularly if we're eating with strangers, people that we don't know very well, we might adapt what we eat and how much we eat in order to try and convey positive impressions to other people. And so women are likely to eat less if they're with men or and also overweight people as well. So we're running this study at the moment just on people that are normal weight. Overweight people might eat less when they're with other people
for the same reason.
For the same reason. So trying to convey that, that they don't eat that much. Impression management is one of those kind of dampening factors that will weaken any effects of social facilitation. So if we can kind of control for that and remove that by recruiting just sort of female participants. I do think it is important to do it in male participants as well, but same-sex friends is I think where we're going to see the most effects here.
Perfect. And so finally, the last question that I have for you is, of all the things that we've discussed today, kind of anything that impacts how people eat from a social or an environmental stance, how do you think these can be integrated into therapies or weight management strategies?
So I think we said before about how we can use social modelling or social norm influences to help encourage people to eat a healthier diet. So I think using kind of social norms has a potentially important effect on healthy eating. Social facilitation, I think it would be very useful for, if people are aware, and we don't actually know whether people are aware of the fact that they're going to be eating more when they're with other people, and I think that's a really important thing to consider, particularly if people are on a weight loss plan. And the other good thing about the potential good thing about social facilitation is that it might help people that have lower appetites, for example, older people, and people that actually need to eat more. Perhaps being in that social situation can,
help with
facilitate, and be helpful in that way.
So mainly just the knowledge of the effect it could make people consciously consider when they go out to eat with friends, that you may have the inclination to eat more because of that.
So if it's something that people aren't so aware of, by me making people aware of it, are they then more like, will they perhaps think, I'm going to go out to eat with my friends, deciding in advance is an important
strategy
there. Just to be aware of it.
Although there is clear evidence that eating with others increases food intake and consumption, Helen was careful to clarify that researchers are not trying to promote the idea that people should eat alone.
We don't want to suggest that people eat alone, because eating together is an important thing. It helps form relationships, it helps with family dynamics, so it's an important part of our culture. It does form a lot of kind of social occasions.
So that's not the message
that no, but I think just perhaps being aware of it, especially if you're looking to manage your weight, might be an important factor.